Here we have Quake, the first 32-bit floating-point 3D first-person shooter, one of the scariest games released. Quake is obviously different from a lot of recent horror games, but is not any less frightening. On first glance, it seems like it would be difficult for Quake to be frightening. You move super fast, have a repertoire of huge and powerful weapons, and health and ammo are plentiful. You get a power-up called Quad Damage, which literally quadruples the damage. How could you possibly be scared when enemies start dropping like flies? Look at those guys. They never stood a chance. Look at this dog up here. I think I got a little something for him, too. These guys over here? Forget about them. Oh, they try to jump scare? Why don't they take a bunch of nails to the face? Unlike modern horror games, it's pretty clear that you're not helpless. In a game like Amnesia, you can really only hide, light things on fire, and run. In a game like Silent Hill, you could really just shake enemies off of you and keep going till they get to the next safe area. And even in the first Dead Space, it was difficult to kill enemies willy-nilly because you had to preserve ammo and your health was a valuable resource. What Quake lacks in this area, however, it makes up for in the ferocity of the enemies, the atmosphere, and the Pavlovian-like responses that the players begin to develop to certain stimuli. The monsters in Quake are the real deal. They are going to hunt you and kill you. Look at that Death Knight. He just came from right across the map. Every monster does something like this. The second a fiend sees you, he'll start jumping at you, and he'll repeat this until either you are dead or he is. I'm pretty sure these monsters don't even have a leash range. I've kited multiple Death Knights and Shamblers halfway across the map, and they just will not give up. And don't get me started on the spawn, as soon as I hear that noise. But I'll get back to that later. The enemies in Quake are out for your blood, and they will stop at nothing to get it. And this sort of frantic fear is exactly the thing a game like Quake needs. The second major area, which Quake shares with almost every good horror game, is the atmosphere. From the moment the Trent Reznor-composed soundtrack starts, you know the world is going to be a creepy, messed up place. Songs like The Halls of Souls, heard here, will quickly drive you mad, thinking there's an enemy around every bend. And the constant unyielding thump-thump of life only accentuates the little that separates you from death. Beyond the soundtrack, the environment is appropriate. The levels vary, starting from a sterile human facility, slowly becoming more medieval, before ending with something eldritch. The transition from semi-familiar to alien accentuates the mood. Also, each level feels claustrophobic, showing you that you are trapped in here with these monsters. The small descriptions before each world also add to the flavor. The story is mostly absent. From what I remember, you work at a company that makes slip-space interdimensional portals, and I guess there's an accident. And you, the security division, I guess, are sent to go clean it up. It's sort of like a combination of Half-Life and Doom 3, except that both of those games came after Quake, so presumably they draw some inspiration for that. In either case, the blurbs they add before each world bring the shift from a human world to an eldritch one to the forefront. For those of you who don't know what eldritch means, it's a word commonly associated with the old ones from the Cthulhu mythos made by H.P. Lovecraft. You're actually in this level fighting one of the great old ones from the Cthulhu mythology, but that's neither here nor there. What is here, however, is the last thing where Quake shines as a horror game, which is the response that the game causes you to have to certain sights and sounds in the game. Whereas something like Call of Duty, or even Quake 4 is largely forgettable because there are a few distinct moments. One military bunker is really the same as another. Shooting one humanoids is largely the same as another. In fact, the only moments in Call of Duty 4 that people really remember are the ones where they take a break in normal gameplay, the nuke and the sniper level. Horror games, on the other hand, build a lasting impression. In Quake, each monster, other than the two humans, are very distinct. Their silhouette and battle cry are unique and allow the player to know exactly what's waiting for them around the corner. Whether it's the Vor with their three-legged silhouette, or the Fiend with its gorilla-like sounds, just hearing that cry is enough to put you on edge. Through changing light and the use of slip-space gates, spawning enemies when you enter the room, or even having them just wait in hiding, the player begins to associate these sights and sound with a panicked, frantic feeling. Remember the spawn that I'd mentioned before? Well, their distinct popping sound, flashing blue out of the corner of your eyes, they begin to leap forward to you, something that will stay with me forever. Mostly because of rooms like this. Much like how Resident Evil taught players to stay away from the window, well, the birds taught people that, I guess, birds can come down your chimney and kill you. After playing Quake, the sights and sounds will send shivers down your spine. I think I actually go into a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder every time I hear someone popping bubble wrap, but that's neither here nor there. The whole package is a terrifying experience, and it shows to me that games can be scary without having the player be a helpless entity. The player can be really powerful. He just needs to know that the monsters are going to get him no matter what. And that knowledge, combined with a creepy atmosphere and good level design, creates a very memorable experience.